I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and peace and blessings be upon him, upon our Master Muhammad, and upon his family and all his companions, and peace be upon you. And the mercy of Allah and his blessings, brothers and sisters, and the peace and mercy of Allah and his blessings be upon you, hoping that you are all doing well. At the end of this day, the beginning of the evening of this Thursday, the 28th of May, and it is currently exactly 9:10 in the evening. Good evening to all those who are not of the Muslim faith who are listening to this video, brothers and sisters, as the introduction to this one indicates. We are going to take an interest in the shirk of Fawzan. At the scholar, Fawzan, the current Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia since the 22nd of October 2025, according to the Wikipedia page. So, brothers and sisters, obviously, that reminds me a little bit of the song, obviously, when we become aware of this announcement, of this teaser, of this piece of information, one can only be, at minimum, skeptical. And I believe that the vast majority of Muslims in France and Muslim women, men and women of France, who adhere in any case to this group, to this school of thought, if it is one, in this case you see what I am alluding to, will not even bother to take the time to condemn me, and this before listening to the content of this present video. When I said condemned, it is not the death penalty. We are not there. In fact, it is not the desire that they lack. Simply, what was done in the past, history repeats. So it is not the desire they lack, it is not because they do not want to, not at all. It is that, well, it also carries risks. And the risks, we often take action when it does not have any consequences for our own person, on our life. Conversely, when there are consequences, we think twice rather than once. But I am entirely convinced, absolutely convinced, that for at least a certain number of them, the most fanatical, and God knows they are unfortunately many, including, among others, a certain number of preachers who are on social media every single day, preaching the good word. It is not the desire that they lack. So me, beyond desire or no desire of what they think, of what they do not think, I believe Allah favored me. He favored me, that is certain, by bringing me out of the darkness of disbelief, where I was nothing other than a kind of beast walking on four legs and going back and forth, without an animal. That is how I saw myself. An animal. He brought me out of this darkness to the religion. And I believe that for that I am indebted for life, because I know what I am talking about, I know what it is about. It is about life in Islam. It is a debt I owe for life, and I intend to pay it, if Allah permits, obviously. And for that, I want to remain on what I consider to be the straight path. And when I talk about the straight path, I am talking about the fact that it is not a claim to know Islam better than anyone else. but it is primarily the fact of being sincere, of giving everything that I can possibly give in my religious practice, and especially not to fear the blame of any critic, never to speak or say things based on my interests. And Allah knows, and I take Allah as a witness, that since the first day, the first hour, the first second that I converted to Islam, I never betrayed a text. I never betrayed a text, not even a word, of the Quran and Sunnah. When I speak of betrayal, it means that I have killed, or I have put my interests or something else before the religion. And I hope that it will be so until the end of my days. All this to tell you one thing that is very simple. It is that the people, the fact of having notoriety, the fact of having views, the fact of having friends, a closeness with Muslims, whether it be virtual or not, to be loved or hated, it is the last of my worries. Very sincerely, it is the last of my worries. I expose things. I am in a fully impartial approach. Allah is witness. My only goal being to approach as much as possible the truth and to share this truth with those who grant me a little bit of their time. It is my one and only desire. It is my only desire. After that, for me, it has no importance. The consequences, the stuff, the things, the success, the failures, whatever you want, as long as I stand, I consider on the straight path regarding the principle. The rest does not concern me. So what I say here regarding what I know that most Muslims in France are of this tendency, unfortunately, and sometimes very extremist in it, obviously will not appreciate the remarks that I am going to make. But I am going to shake them. I will shake them so well that they will be confused whether they like it or not. And that leads me to say one simple thing. It is that before I give you this demonstration, I want to render to Caesar what is Caesar's, to Mahmud what is Mahmud's, namely that what caught my attention regarding what I am going to develop. Because I do not read Fawzan, they are authors who do not interest me at all. I read them when it comes to the explanation of Hadiths, of which I have an understanding, and to be certain that I am not on the wrong path, I look at what the scholars say, thinking maybe I misunderstood, maybe I forgot, maybe I did not develop it enough, etc. So I look into it to avoid relying solely on my own understanding. Beyond that, it does not interest me at all. But he is a Muslim, a brother, who discussed this subject on the TikTok platform. So I ordered the book which I received today, and I checked the facts. In every way. When I verify, I check from every angle, every option, because it is information that carries heavy responsibility, obviously. To accuse a Muslim and an alim too, and an alama, meaning above a scholar, the alim is the scholar, the alama is the bright sun. It is above a scholar. And what is more, the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia. That is certainly not a small matter. You bear the responsibility for your words before Allah, so you must be 100% sure of what you will say. That is the introduction now. Let us watch this clip.
ولكن صلاتها في المساجد أفضل وأتم وأحسن.
فخرج إليهم مغضبا فقال لهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: ما زال بكم صنيعكم حتى ظننت أنه سيكتب عليكم، فعليكم بالصلاة في بيوتكم، فإن خير صلاة المرء في بيته إلا الصلاة المكتوبة.
ولكن صلاتها في المساجد أفضل.
فإن خير صلاة المرء في بيته إلا الصلاة المكتوبة.
ولكن صلاتها في المساجد أفضل وأتم وأحسن.
فإن خير صلاة المرء في بيته إلا الصلاة المكتوبة.
ولكن صلاتها في المساجد أفضل.
فإن خير صلاة المرء في بيته إلا الصلاة المكتوبة.
ولكن صلاتها في المساجد أفضل.
Listening to this clip regarding Sheikh Fawzan and the Tarawih, it is said quite clearly that the Tarawih prayer, he discusses Tarawih, search for the video on YouTube, you will find it in Arabic or French, that the Tarawih prayer is better when performed in the mosque. It is better in the mosque because he diverges. Some say it differs. He differs where there is no room for it. There is no disagreement there. Anyway, he differs, so he says that prayer at the mosque beats at home. He totally contradicts the Prophet. He contradicts the Bukhari Muslim Hadith radically. He cannot do worse in terms of contradictions, since you know the Prophet said that the best prayer for a man is the one he does at home, apart from the mandatory prayer. It suffers from no ambiguity, no possibility of introducing any reflection that would lead us to think or understand it otherwise. On that, he is 100% wrong. He contradicts him radically. He says no. Well, he does not say no. He says the best prayer is the one you do at the mosque. The Prophet said at home, and he says at the mosque. Even on that, we would like to hear them a little bit, the followers. We would like to hear them a little, how they can explain these kinds of remarks. Now, let us enter the heart of the subject.
Alors là, comme vous pouvez le constater, on est dans son ouvrage, Mukhtasar fi al-Aqida wa al-Da'wa, Mukhtasar fi al-Aqida wa al-Da'wa, à la page 47, il dit ce qui suit. Vous pouvez constater qu'il cite des hadiths, et ensuite il cite le hadith en question. Wa qala aydan inni tarak fikum ma in tamasaktum bi'i lan tadillu ba'di kitab Allah wa sunnati. Et donc vous constatez qu'il dit, le prophète a dit, je laisse deux choses parmi vous. Si vous vous accrochez à ces deux choses, vous vous égarez pas, après moi, le livre d'Allah, donc le Coran, wa sunnati, ma sunna. Il met une note de renvoi, une, et en bas, il met donc Rawa'u Tirmidhi, numéro 3788.
Here is the book, for which I provided all necessary info, volume 4, page 47, and the text in question along with another footnote at the bottom of the page. Of this text referring to Tirmidhi number 3788. What does Sheikh Fawzan say in his book? He tells us that the Prophet Muhammad has said, I leave two things. If you follow them, you will not go astray. Two things, the Quran and my Sunnah as well. This is what the Hadith clearly reports. The Quran and my Sunnah. And he completes his statement by providing a reference, which is Tirmidhi number 3788. Now let us look in the book in question at Tirmidhi number 3788. I have tried to be as transparent as possible here, so that there is no room for the slightest doubt, by checking all hadiths that are in this chapter. I took it all because maybe at 3788 he didn't say it, but at 3789 a numbering error. It happens. It happens. So as a precaution I have provided you with, I have recounted every single hadith. Therefore the hadith begins at 3786, the first hadith regarding the subject, and ends at 3789. 3786, 3789 before is different. 3785 is a different chapter, as you have seen in the excerpt. So it starts at 3786 and ends at 3789. What do these texts say? 3786 says, the Prophet said, I leave you the Quran and my family. Number 3787 speaks of this famous hadith. Allah wants to rid you of all impurity. 3788 speaks of, I leave you the Quran and my household. And 3789 says, it tells Muslims to love the Prophet's family. So between 3786, the chapter start, and 3789, we have the entirety of the hadiths that appear in relation to the subject, including number 3788, which Sheikh Fawzan used as a reference to say that. But 3788, as you have been able to see, does not say, I have left you the Quran and my Sunnah. It says, I left you the Quran and my family. 3788. And in no hadith from 3786 to 3789 does I left you the Quran and my Sunnah. None exist, it's not there. So he couldn't be wrong. He can't be wrong. We can't say it's a numbering error. He can't be wrong. So there is something, obviously, here that leads us, inevitably, me at least, not to talk of good faith. There is no reason at present to have a good suspicion. Because one could say it's age, he's 90. Well, when he wrote it, he wasn't 90. I don't know when he wrote it. But one could say, even if he wrote it yesterday, it's age. With age, one can be wrong. It happens. Except that, how can one be wrong? Since there is no hadith that speaks of the Quran and the Sunnah. There is none. So how can one make a mistake? One could be wrong if a hadith said the Quran and the Sunnah. He got the numbers wrong, he was wrong, he was wrong. Because this hadith exists in Tirmidhi, but it doesn't. And all speak of the Quran and the family. So it's not possible. And as if by chance, who benefits from this? It benefits this group. As if by chance. It's not an error that one might wonder has no consequences. One can say, yes, indeed, well, thing, but then what does it change? The ablutions, well, it is not that. The prayer, the Ramadan, the thing, etc. But here, no. Here, it has consequences. Since all of the hadiths about the Quran and my family were authenticated by Sheikh Al-Albani. He says it's authentic. So naturally, it leads to a simple question. Since you state that this hadith is authentic, as Sheikh Al-Albani says, these are all authentic hadiths. Well, all those in this chapter. Which leads to a simple question. If these were authentic hadiths, why do you not follow them? Why do you recognize, you say that the hadith is authentic, as Sami Chouch says, when the Prophet, if the Prophet tells him that this pen, it is yellow, and that for him it is green, or something of that sort, well, I will believe the Prophet. I will believe the Prophet, because even if I see it as blue and he says it's yellow, I will believe the Prophet. Very well. Here, you say this hadith is authentic, so if it's authentic, the Prophet said it. according to your own understanding of this subject. So, if I follow your understanding, since you say that it is authentic, and you say that it is authentic so the Prophet said it, why do you not obey the Prophet? Since the Prophet said, I leave you the Quran and my family, and you say it's Sahih, so why not follow it? Why the companions, in the Prophet's time, did not submit to his words? It's a simple question. So there are two possibilities. The first is that ultimately these hadiths are false, which is, in my opinion, impossible. The second possibility is that you transgressed the Prophet's order. It is that you have not respected the will of the Prophet. Simply. There are no other options. Either it is false or it is true. And if it is true, you did not respect it. In any case, at the time of the Prophet. We must recall that everyone knows it. The Prophet said, whoever lies about me deliberately prepares his seat in hell. That is what he did. How can one reasonably explain it otherwise? What can be found not as an extenuating circumstance, but as an element that might have led Sheikh Fawzan to go wrong? We are not in ijtihad, not in this, not in that. We are in the fact that he cites a reference that refers to number 3788 in Tirmidhi. And he removed the word family, he put sunnah. How can one explain? Age, that is not possible. There is no, it is not possible. He reads and understands Arabic, he couldn't be wrong, etc. It's simply not possible. So I am truly sorry. And at the same time, it reinforces what I know. In manipulating talawiyas in many things and explaining Thursday, how can these people be credible? When they explain to you hadiths related to the talawiyas, to the day of Thursday and so on, we clearly saw in a previous video that he was saying with the Sheikh al-Thaymim that since there is even a caliph as an innovation, we must follow him. That is what they say. We must follow him as he does something the Prophet forbade. They tell him, not me. So that is why their explanation on subjects such as the day of Thursday, the talawiyahs and everything that is related moreover to Omar ibn al-Khattab, they are not reliable. But not at all. For others, perhaps. The evolutions and again and again. But in this case, it is criminal. It is criminal. It is criminal. I thank you. Goodbye.